Hello, I'm Andrew McCarron, and this is the latest episode of SBC Leaders podcast. With me today, I've got Joanne Whittaker, Group CEO of Betfred, and Kresimir Spajic, who's the USA CEO. Guys, how you doing?
Good, nice to be here.
Good, thank you for inviting us.
No, good to be here in Barcelona, SBC Summit event. Joe, I appreciate this is maybe the first you've done this for industry press.
My first time in Barcelona as well.
So, oh wow!
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
delighted to be here.
We'll be gentle with you, but to start off with, I mean, we talked about downstairs. You were on a panel and you were talking about the vision of Betfred going forward. What do you see that vision to be?
Betfred has a over 50-year-old legacy. We've been slow to most things we've done. So we were slow to grow the retail estate and then went really fast, accelerated. We were slow to launch online in the UK and then accelerated. So we're now in South Africa. We've got two businesses in South Africa. We're launching the Betfred South Africa brand and we're the majority investor in Lotto Star. And we're also in 10 states in the US, which is really exciting for us. Probably we'll then look at other territories, but I think we need to focus on what we've got. The Lotto Star transaction was fantastic for us. It was a new way of working, sticking with the local partners. They're still in the business with us today, giving them the full autonomy to continue doing what they're doing, which is fantastic. Against the challenge of a new brand in a new territory, which is never easy when people haven't heard of Betfred, but we're working on that now.
Obviously, Betfred is very much a UK brand for yes. a long time. And like you say, almost like the tortoise and the hare came up. And is it the second biggest retail estate or is it third? Maybe it's third after William Hill?
We'll be third after Hills.
So what made you sort of look beyond those borders? What made South Africa an interesting prospect?
It was just an opportunity that arose. We look at a lot of opportunities. It was one that excited us. So Betfred South Africa was the acquisition of a business in administration betting world. And so that brought us 60 retail shops. We're good retailers. We know what we're doing. Retail in South Africa is a world away from the UK. Your average shop has 60, 70 counter hands. In the UK, we have 2 to 3. So they're like stadiums. It's a phenomenal experience. Really exciting to be around. So Betting World brought us the 60 retail shops and it brought us a small online business. And then once we were in the South African market, you start to hear about the players, you make relationships, and we met the Lotto Star team. And it's been great since then. Excellent.
So, Kresimir, you've joined more or less this week to head up the US operations. I mean, what attracted you to Betfred? What did you find? What are the values that sort of drew you to the company?
I think what attracted me is kind of tradition. It's a family-run business. It's fully privately owned. Decision maker is pretty straightforward, and there is quite a bit of pride and history being a bookmaker for almost 50 years. Add to this an owner who is deeply in love in Betfred and love what he does, and he's very convincing when he's talking to you and trying to sell you the story about the Betfred and working for it. I think this was one factor. Second, I also met Joe. I've seen also that company is changing by bringing her and with some expansion also in other markets, and I thought this is a good combination for me that I can contribute with my understanding of the US markets and working with them closely. And I think, I come from very large organizations, very big companies where lots of time is spent on governments and board meetings and shareholder meetings, and you spend ultimately 50% of your time just dealing with administration. I feel here we do a lot of things with a handshake and an agreement. And as Joe said, her management style is like, okay, we have an agreement, go and deliver now on whatever we have agreed. And I think this is an opportunity for me to actually focus more on building business than on politics around the business.
There's a reason why Fred Doan, the owner, was one of the earlier inductees to the Sports Betting Hall of Fame that we launched. He's someone who's been there, walk the walk, talk the talk, and
I think he's seen most change that's come. And, for us, it's a really exciting time. We are building a team. I'm a great believer in recruiting people that know more than you and taking on Kresimir with his experience. It just opens up so many new markets to us. The US is difficult. It's difficult for everyone. And I'm confident that Kresimir will find the way through for us.
That's good.
Thank you for believing in me.
We'll cut that one and send it to me. Motivational talk of the morning. So, Joe, you took over CEO role, was it?
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. So, right in the mix of still around COVID.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you thought actually that was probably the death knell of the retail estate, but it's been on a gradual decline over the 2010s and things like that. But you were kind of anticipating that actually the retail was going to go.
Yeah, I mean it was unprecedented for everyone, but the shops just closed overnight, and it was, why on earth would a customer go? We saw our online business go through the roof. It was a fantastic growth story for everyone. But we saw those customers convert to digital. And, why go back to retail? It's easier online. It's at touch of a button. And it was worrying for us. But, like I said earlier, the shops have recovered completely. People like the community. It's habitual going into the local betting shop, doing your football coupon, etc. So retail is good for us. Costs are increasing all of the time, which will always be a challenge. But, we're passionate retailers. Our brand is on every high street in the UK. And similar in South Africa. So again, you saw the conversion, but the customers came back. They want to be in that retail space.
Do you think people dismiss the community aspects of the betting shops a little bit too easily? Maybe be in a bit of a snobby kind of way?
Yeah, I mean, our staff are phenomenal throughout the estate, and many of our customers come back to the shops to be with those staff, to have a cup of tea, to have a chat. It's just part of their daily routine. And, you can never underestimate the power of retail, both the banners on the high street and the staff and the way that our customers think about us. We're one of the most highly recognised brands in the UK. We under-index on market share. Our technology has been a journey, but we're getting there.
I mean, they say a shop's only as good as its staff when it comes to betting shops. I mean, how do you show leadership to the part-time cashier? How do you get them to follow the Betfred way of customer service?
Many of our staff have been working for us for forever. We've got strong staff loyalty, constantly looking at the benefits, the salary structure. We're a real living wage employer in the UK, which we're proud to do. It's not easy with the costs, the high costs on the high street, but yeah, it's just about reinvesting in staff training, acknowledging what they're doing, and making sure we've got the right package for them. And
obviously in the US, the retail sports betting is relatively new compared to certainly somewhere as mature as the UK. Have you seen any similarities between how the customers approach the brands?
Yeah, just very different concept, right? Because in US, as you know, retail business is tethered mostly to the casinos. So you're limited where you can actually locate those businesses and how many of them you can have. So I think it's a very different experience for what Joe is saying. It's about having a high presence on as many corners or many streets as you can. In US, it's more about bringing a flagship stores, right? So you choose locations and you choose the partners which have a good footfall, where this is like another flagship amenity for them, and try to kind of to put your brand forward to them. But it's not usually a higher revenue generator. If you look at the US trends, 92% of the revenue comes from digital business and only 8% comes from retail business. So I think from a branding perspective, it's more about bringing flagship VRP experiences, while digital business is actually the main focus when it comes to this. I think when it comes to the brand, we are trying to replicate this with different activities, like through sponsorships, right? In order to replicate a bit of a formula of a Betfred, which is your local bookie, somebody where you come to socialize, somebody where you get an excellent customer service. We're trying to replicate this through our sponsorships of Cincinnati Bengals, of Denver Broncos, of Las Vegas Knights, and try to tie in with the local community through that. So it's definitely a different strategy.
Joe, when you first started working really with Fred Doan, he invested in your startup business, but one of the clauses was you weren't allowed to pull a wage until the company was in profit.
Yeah, I was with Fred 20 years ago when we rolled out EPOS, and I was a developer, so the developers struggle to pull the wool in front of my eyes, let's say, these days. But I wanted to go away and do my own business. Fred and I had worked really closely together for 3 or 4 years, and he said that he'd always back me. So the deal was I had to find my own replacement because he was clueless about IT and still is. I had to find my own replacement, and I couldn't take a salary till we were earning money. So I gave up my job, gave up my salary, and set up my own business. Yeah, never looked back. It's been a really exciting journey.
And what did that approach sort of teach you? Was it a good way of focusing?
Yeah, focuses the mind. You're very profit driven. Didn't want to take on too much debt. He was offering me, at the time it felt like a fortune. He offered me $100,000 for a 25% share in the company, and it was only loan he was putting in. There was no equity going in. And at the time, that was probably the value of my house. It was like, it was a long time ago. And I treated every penny like my own. But that's the way we'd worked at Betfred. We were spending millions at the time. We were launching online. We'd rolled out EPOS through the estate. We were on a really rapid growth scale of acquisitions. And I'd always worked like that. Everyone says they're transparent. I'm honestly really transparent. I say it as it is. I don't mince my words. I challenge him. I argue. And we just built this really strong working relationship. And he was taking a risk. I'd never run a business. I'd run an IT department for a small bookmaker. So yeah, it was good. It took 2 years, well, maybe 2.5. And then we started making money so I could take a salary. Yeah, thankfully.
I suppose, that kind of decision making is what you were talking about before, with it being a private entrepreneurial guy. He's got lots of other businesses outside of betting. I think there's a travel business and a pensions business and different things like that. So he's also got an eye on how other industries work. So I was wondering, how much of an advantage does Fred himself give from his experience in other sectors?
Fred just gives us the ability to get on with it. And that can be positive and negative. So, if anyone in the business, in the team has an idea, something they wants to try, you have to evidence why it'll work, how it'll work. And then you just give them the freedom to get on with it. And I just need to make sure now we develop, continue to develop as an exec and look at the territories and look at what we want to do and make the right decisions.
Yeah, I'll just add to this. It seems that he became a bit softer with an age because he actually offered me a salary from the get-go. So I think he's just getting a bit softer. But otherwise, I definitely agree with everything with Joe is saying.
Yeah.
So, you're currently in 10 states at the moment. And some firms are actually rolling back their exposure in some of the markets. What's Betfred going to do differently than some of these other guys who've for some reason seem to have unexpectedly found it too tough? Yeah,
look, I'm in the US now since 2013. 10 years. I went through a couple of roller coasters. The first was opening of only a couple of gaming-related US states, which was basically New Jersey and Delaware. At that point of time, land-based businesses were partnering with European digital businesses, expecting that online casino is going to spread as a flame. Fast forward 18 months, nothing has happened, right? So that was the first down wave where everybody got super excited, decided to invest, and then you could operate really in New Jersey because Delaware was kind of exclusive state. Now you have a second wave, right? With an opening of sports betting, you had this huge rush into the US, which is economically and by size one of the largest markets in the world, right? So you suddenly have 70 different operators entering the US, and everybody was raising money because capital was relatively easy, cost of capital was low, and many people got excited and thought that they can make a difference in it, right? And then what happened with the COVID and a bit of economic crisis and with inflation, money ran out. And many people are now realizing we don't have any more capital, we don't have technology, we don't have anything to compete with. So what you're seeing, many people withdrawing or going belly up. So I think difference with the Betfred and with our company is that we decided to persevere. What's the word?
Persevere.
So Joyce trying to teach me that word already for 2 days. And I still cannot say it. But yeah, I mean, we decided, look, everybody's going out. We're a private company. I think Fred and Joe and the whole ownership decided to continue investing in the US. They want to make an example of this and they believe that it can be successful. So I think this is the first and most important thing. What we can do better, I think US market it ultimately boiled down to 10-15 operators, right? Plus some what I call local or regional operators, which will be in 1 or 2 states, which have maybe some competitive advantages or reason to do this. And I think in this environment, you can carve out a niche for yourself, right? And what is our niche? We don't expect to be market leaders. We want to be a market contenders, carving out a piece of market share for us, which is focused on customer-centric approach, right? We want to be closer to our customers. We want to talk to them on a personal, local level. We want to maybe give a bit more back to them, right? And I think this is what we are going to try to do it. And how we are going to do it, as I said, tying into local sponsorship, working with the local communities and putting much more effort into relationship with our customers, because it's very hard to expect that we can compete on a marketing budget level, that we can even compete on a technology level. So we need to focus on excellence in operations and relationship with our customers. And if we carve out a single digit market share, I think this will make us happy as long as the business is sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, the US is difficult. There's no hiding. We followed everyone else. We put our flag in as many states as we could. We're at 10. But now we need to really drill into that strategy and support Kresimir in being able to deliver what he wants to deliver. And again, giving them the autonomy to get on and do it. And we're not under pressure from shareholders externally. We can just go for it, see what happens, see what opportunities are there.
I'm still feeling that a bit of the tortoise in the hare as well. You don't have to be doing increased numbers every quarter and reporting to everybody.
No, we just need to get it right.
Yeah, look, I think it's not only for us. I think for everybody is a reflection time in the US, right? From chasing, first you had a wave of just speed to the market. Yeah. Let's just get into the market. Nobody cared about product. Nobody cared about anything. Let's just open each and every market, right? Then you had a wave, let's just grow handle, let's just grow top line revenues, right? And then with the increased inflation and cost of the capital, suddenly EBITDA is the king, right? So now we're in a phase, EBITDA is the king, and these are normal cycles in every market, right? And how a market mature. So we are reflecting now. I think that we are looking into what we can do. We are looking into each and every individual states. Plus we have an access to some additional states which might open up or we still haven't gone in live. And I think in the following kind of months and years, we expect to develop a strategy that actually makes sense, right? It's not like a player that targets very, very wide funnel and every better. We're going to find our players that are going to be loyal with us and respect basically the more attention that we are going to provide to them.
We talked below about sort of the perception of the industry, and how it's got a negative connotation in nearly every single media story that comes out these days. One of the reasons why we launched the Hall of Fame is to kind of fight back against the negative perception the industry have and say, well, look, we provide entertainment to millions of people. These people are innovative, pushing things forward. They ought to be recognised for along those lines. But are we missing a trick? I mean, what more can brands do to try and sort of chip away of that negative perception that we have, which seems to be worse than a lot of the other vice industries?
It's really difficult, and we haven't helped ourselves. Again, UK specific, we've come under a lot of scrutiny. There's been a lot of fines. We haven't had the protection in place historically that probably we needed, but technology was running so fast. I think now the UK is the safest market to have a bet in. The player protection tools that we've put in place, there's always more you can do. We're always trying to do more. The white paper, let's see where we get to after that. But we just need to keep doing the right thing. We need to keep building on the tools, the protection that we're putting in place for consumers, and stop those horror stories, which none of us want. We don't want one problem gambler is too many. We say it all the time, but it's true. We want people to have a bet, enjoy themselves, and we want to sleep at night as leaders.
I suppose in the US, it's on a slightly different point of the curve when it comes to acceptance of gambling. There's still quite positive, is it, at the moment?
I think it's just very different. I wouldn't say this. Look, I think the difference between the US and Europe is that you have all of these large casino integrated resorts, which are kind of an entertainment venues. And the perception in the US, you have more than 1,000 retail casinos in the US. This is a place where I go and entertain. So this is, I think, the biggest difference. Like, in Europe perspective about gaming or gambling this is a vice. If you go to US and you say, look, I'm going to this and this property, not to name some of large casino organization, you're actually proud of this. It's also a status symbol. I'm going to go there and I'm going to have a nice dinner. I'm going to go and see a nice concert. And then I'm going to go and have fun with my friends, right? And game as well, right? It's not something that you hide. And I think it's just the difference in the culture. And here, casinos has been for a long time of a tradition, right? Of the casino business, especially in the last 20, 30 years. When it comes to sports betting, it's also perceived as a form of entertainment, right? So I think this is also there is a difference. And when it comes to responsible gaming measures, US has them for a long time, including the retail level. So they also think that this is handled pretty well. And look, as any other, I would say, industries or any other factors or parts of our life, there is always outliers, right? In everything. We can be in moderating in any aspect of our life, right? So you're going to have probably always few people which are going to be in moderate in gaming as well. We are doing our best and trying to do our best together with the regulators to prevent this. Will it ever be a 100% success rate? Probably never.
I mean, this is a bit of a mood change, but for the last question, what we do for people who are coming on the podcast is just basically, how do you unwind? How do you switch off from work and refresh yourself, ready to come back in work 9 a.m. the next morning? So, what do you do to unwind out in Warrington?
Somebody asked me recently what hobbies I have, and I had to go away, and I have thought about it quite a lot because I don't have any. And I don't really know why. I love work. Work is my hobby. And then I've got 3 kids. So I walk in the door, I'll do my calls, and I'll be like, shh, everyone be quiet kind of thing. And then you just turn back into mum, and you're taking them to clubs, sports, running around. I took my eldest to university this weekend. That's the way I switch off. Just, it's like the work person off, mum is back on, and it's all forgotten. Obviously the phone's ringing constantly and I'm checking emails, but we manage that. I love that side of it.
Yeah, I say to people in the office that I come into work for a rest from my team.
My husband's a stay-at-home dad, so I would much prefer being at work. It's hard work being at home. Love my kids to bits, but love being able to focus on work as well.
How about you, Kresimir?
Yeah, look, you don't come to a certain level in your career if you actually don't like what you do and you don't like your work. You're a go-getter, you're an achiever, you actually enjoy what you like, and this is the part of life. And challenges is actually something that excites me and that I want to deal with on a daily basis. So that's a good part. Do you sometimes overdo it? Yeah, very often, right? But where you find your outlets, as Joe said, look, my outlets is family. I have a still young family and young kids. When I have time, I try to be with them. And I also, for me, I need physical activity. So sports is my kind of place where I go and went out when I find time, and this helps me balance basically work, family, and life. But going back, we wouldn't be here if we actually don't like it. So I don't feel that I'm losing much by actually doing what I love.
I suppose that's one of the advantages of being in an entertainment sector. The stuff you're doing is actually a bit more entertaining than, for want of a better phrase, working out ceramic tiles for bathrooms and things, or freight. It's I'm sure they have their own highlights, but not quite as entertaining as what we put on. So, guys, thank you very much for your time. And I hope to see you on a future episode.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.